In this video, we intend to think a bit unusually, or better to say, a bit fantasize, to see what changes, like manipulating the solar system or living without oxygen or sunlight, could have consequences for us. Please join us. How to endure fatigue, stress, anxiety, and the pressures of life. What if we consume about 33 cans of a certain energy drink in a day? Does that energy drink really give us wings to fly? Let's first understand what this energy drink is and whether drinking this amount of it can harm our bodies. In most US states, people pressure the government to ban the consumption of energy drinks for individuals under the legal age due to their negative impact on people's lives. Red Bull was first introduced in Thailand as a drink that could enhance endurance and has been available to the public since 1970. This drink was marketed as giving you wings.
Red Bull gives you wings.
And since then, 82 billion bottles of this product have been produced, with only 7.5 billion of them made since 2019. A can of Red Bull contains ingredients like caffeine, sucrose, glucuronic acid, taurine, vitamin B12, carbonated water, sodium bicarbonate, calcium pantothenate, and natural and artificial colors. Now, it's up to you to decide whether this drink is healthy or not. A 250 ml can of Red Bull contains 80 grams of caffeine and a significant amount of 27 grams of sugar. While one can may not have a significant impact, consuming a large number of them will certainly affect you. I must say that vitamin B is good, but an excessive amount of it can be dangerous. An excess of B3 and B6 can lead to digestive system problems, liver toxicity, blurred vision, and damage to the nervous system. Taurine, an amino acid, has benefits such as increasing muscle power, but excessive use can lead to weight loss and dehydration. Now, what happens if you drink 1,000 cans of Red Bull in a month? That's almost 33 cans a day, meaning 1.5 cans per hour, not counting 8 hours of sleep. After 10 minutes, caffeine from the first Red Bull enters your blood, increasing your blood pressure and heart rate. After 15 to 45 minutes, you may feel more focused or active. Caffeine is fully absorbed by the body 30 to 50 minutes after drinking the first Red Bull, dilating the pupils and causing the body to release a significant amount of insulin. Caffeine disrupts adenosine function, leading to your insomnia. Your body reacts to the excessive adrenaline rush with an emergency response. The liver releases extra sugar into the blood, which then converts to fat. After an hour, you'll feel a severe drop in blood sugar, and the effects of caffeine will wear off. Congratulations! You're still alive in the first few hours, with only 32 cans left to finish today. The harmful effects of excessive caffeine are evident at around 300 to 500 milligrams. To experience caffeine overdose, your body's caffeine level needs to reach 10 grams, while a 250 ml can of Red Bull, 80 milligrams of caffeine. Therefore, 125 cans of Red Bull are enough to be fatal. Moreover, the high amount of sugar in your nervous system can lead to fatal insomnia. So, after drinking 125 cans of Red Bull, you will die. Well, if you decide to go on a wild adventure and guzzle down 125 cans of Red Bull, here's the punchline. You might just get a one-way ticket to the caffeine afterlife. So, my friend, let's stick to a few cans, keep it light, and save the party for another day. Cheers to staying alive. Now, let's see what happens if oxygen is not on Earth for just 5 seconds. As you know, oxygen is the third most abundant element on Earth, allowing us to breathe and even shaping the world around us. Now, imagine no oxygen for just 5 seconds. What could go wrong? You might think 5 seconds is nothing, and we can hold our breath. But hey, oxygen isn't just for breathing. Almost everything in the world depends on oxygen. Before we dive into what happens to humans, let's check out what goes on with cities and human inventions. If you're traveling or sitting in your car during those 5 seconds, brace yourself because car engines won't convert heat into energy without oxygen. If your car happens to be off at that moment, well, it's staying off. Every minute, about 100 airplanes are taking off or landing. Without oxygen, airplane accidents on the runway become a real issue, and they simply won't fly. What's even more interesting is the disaster that occurs without oxygen atoms. Materials like wood, cement, water, and even your clothes turn into metallic dust without oxygen atoms bonding them. Without atomic bonds, almost everything gets destroyed. And since 46% of the Earth's crust, the ground we live on, is made possible by oxygen, the Earth itself turns into dust under our feet. Now, in those 5 seconds, oxygen returns to Earth, but it's too late. When oxygen comes back, it mixes with hydrogen, turning it into water. However, the reaction between oxygen and hydrogen generates intense heat, transforming our world into ashes with a fiery blaze. Don't worry about humans and animals, though. In the first few seconds, like oceans turning into vapor, there won't be a trace of us except for some dust. All that will be left of us are a few memories, literally as dust. Now we know that oxygen is truly a precious element. So, let's appreciate oxygen and the natural oxygen producers, namely trees and forests, and make sure not to easily destroy our green friends. We're sure you're all familiar with black holes. Now, imagine you're out in space, curious to know what's inside those mysterious black holes. The first question that pops up is, what happens if we fall into a black hole? Firstly, black holes are formed from the death of massive stars. In simple terms, when a large star dies, it leaves behind a core. If this core has a mass at least 3 times that of our Sun, gravity triumphs over all other forces, causing the core to collapse, creating a sinkhole in space that sucks everything, including light, towards it. To grasp the gravitational power of black holes, think of placing a heavy ball in the center of a stretched fabric. Space in this analogy. Now, if you've seen an image of a black hole, you'll notice stars orbiting around a completely dark circle. As you get closer to a black hole, your speed increases rapidly, and gravity accelerates you. And here's the first bit of bad news for you. Let's imagine, although it's not possible, that we only want to visualize what it's like to go inside a black hole. In the center of black holes, there's a point called the singularity. The density of matter becomes infinite at the singularity, and the gravitational force is unbelievably strong, even defying our laws of physics. Some believe that if we enter a black hole, we might get transported to another dimension. No one can even guess what might happen inside black holes. In our world, time continuously moves forward, but near a black hole, time and space change places. Time near a black hole becomes so slow that at the event horizon, time stops. At this point, you can never go back, and escaping a black hole is like trying to travel backward in time on Earth. To avoid confusion, consider this example. Imagine you're in a boat heading towards a nearby rock. By slowing down the boat, you can prevent it from hitting the rock. However, if you're falling towards a black hole, controlling your speed becomes impossible, and you're inevitably drawn into it. In essence, the idea of falling into a black hole is deemed impossible, as we have no experience with it. That's why the great scientist Albert Einstein stated that black holes are not just something we don't know about. They are something we can't even think about. Now, if one day falling into a black hole becomes possible, would you be willing to try it? Please leave a comment. Now, let's imagine what would happen if the sun disappeared for a few days. It's interesting to note that after about 8 minutes, people would realize the sun was gone, and suddenly everything would turn dark. Even the moon wouldn't be around anymore, but distant stars would still shine. When the sun is absent, the Earth's magnetic field changes and photosynthesis stops. Without photosynthesis, plant growth halts and oxygen production ceases. The Earth gets extremely cold, but not like other cold planets, because the Earth's core is still hot. After several hours, the world transforms. In the absence of the sun, Earth's temperature fluctuates between 5 to 7 degrees Celsius. The oceans remain unchanged initially. After a week of darkness, it gets even colder, and the average Earth temperature drops to minus 17 degrees Celsius. In this cold scenario, areas around faults leading deep into the Earth still retain some warmth. Trees perish without light, and the cold hinders their growth. Ocean surfaces begin to freeze. Scientists faced with this situation start thinking about creating warm places for humans. Gradually, the average temperature of the Earth drops to minus 30 degrees Celsius. Flowers, plants, bacteria, and 90% of animals vanish. Only animals near volcanic eruptions and hot springs survive. Deep in the oceans, life persists due to the heat from the Earth's core. Almost a year passes, and our Earth is completely frozen, covered by a thick layer of ice. The average temperature of the Earth is now minus 40 degrees Celsius. All land animals are frozen, with only a few surviving in colder countries like Iceland, where people have the means to adapt to the cold. Slowly, in the absence of the sun, everything fades away, including deep-sea creatures. The Earth turns into a snowy sphere, and the average temperature drops to minus 120 degrees Celsius. Without the sun, the entire solar system collapses, and without gravitational forces among the planets, they drift apart. It's uncertain what would happen. Perhaps Earth might join another galaxy, or collide with another planet. Everything we've discussed is a theory, but what is certain is that in about 2 billion years, the sun will expand so much that it will engulf Mercury and turn Earth into a fiery hell. After that, the sun will explode and transform into a white dwarf. I always remember that these illusions have been in my mind since childhood, and I thought it might be interesting for you too. If you enjoy watching this video, please share it with your friends.